how to build a cafe, and we can just go, but every single person, I guarantee you, when we're going to start breaking it down, we're all going to be in a different camp. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that GACHP, as a board member, and we do consulting, everything else, and this isn't a sales pitch, but it's so individualized on every single situation that we have. And it's, hey Craig.
Good morning.
All right, we didn't want you in here anyway. He's got a nice cafe. He showed me a picture of theirs. Nashville, just getting all those things. So I think that it probably behoove us to just go directly and answer direct questions that you're looking for, because I want you to leave here with a nugget, basically. So so hopefully we'll pan and we'll let you get there. And actually, Damien's going to be he's going to be a good consultant here for us today, because they're going through a remodel downstairs. If you notice, upstairs is going on right now, and they're going to switch floors here as soon as we're done with this conference. I think. When do you guys start?
We'll be tore up this time next year.
Yeah.
They're going to start the 1st of June.
Okay.
As soon as they close the school.
Okay.
So
it's really good. So just getting into that. So basically, if anybody has specific questions, we'll go through. I mean, that's kind of how we want this to be. So I don't want anybody to leave here not feeling fulfilled. If you need me to just go through every single step, I can go through every single step. But like I said, it's going to be different for every single person. You want to start when you say cafe, is that just coffee? Is that just a coffee shop? Is that a coffee shop with donuts? Is it a coffee shop with muffins? Is it a coffee shop with sandwiches? Is it a sandwich shop with coffee? Is it whatever it is. So building a cafe, we could go any direction. So that's why I was, so if I get up here and I start teaching about how to build a coffee shop with sandwiches, and I just want to learn how to make coffee, or just how to, even submit a plan to your XP or your administrator, or however it is that however your flow is at your church. So that's what we want to make sure that we really get to. So let's start with prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity, and just for each individual here today that just wants to create a fellowship environment at their churches, we just ask that you just give them the knowledge and just the proper planning. And we know that sometimes the planning is what can really hang us up when we're trying to develop a fellowship area in our churches. So just not let it divide our congregation, not let it divide our leadership, but just bring back some nuggets and some wisdom of how we can create that fellowship environment with love, and hopefully with a little bit of, at least so that it doesn't put a strain on the church and it doesn't put a strain on our budgets. And we just love you so much and appreciate the fact that you let us be here today. In your name we pray, amen. So always like to start classes with I don't know if you guys know me well enough, I love acronyms. So CAFE, you guys got any ideas? CAFE? Yeah. That's where you get to think about it. You get to be creative when you throw your plan out there to your boss. You can do that. I'll give you one of my examples. Creating a fellowship environment. Cafe. Community access for everyone. It's a community and family enrichment. You use that. Coffee and food, everyone. You can do all those little things. So it's always nice to be able to go that direction. So we have to think about all those things. Tim Hawkins, anybody familiar with Tim Hawkins? A few of you guys. He's a Christian, kind of. He's a Christian. He's a comedian, but he's not necessarily just a Christian comedian. But he came through a couple of years ago, and it was just funny because we're sitting there and we were like, oh, don't go there. Don't go there. And he went there, of course. And so he started talking about, hey, you walk into churches and you got these hokey names in their coffee shops. Jehovah Jova, Java Jehovah, and Holy Grounds, Divine Grind. That was mine. So we were just like, so the pastor, so the executive pastor and Troy, our senior pastor, was just like, so I got the text like right then and there. We're changing the name tomorrow. So we went from Divine Grind and we have to remember this, if we're trying to create a community environment, so, and this basically just starts, this is starting the class right here. We have to think about all these things. If we put this really holier than thou name on our coffee shops, and it's cute and it's funny and it works great for inside ministry, but when you go out and you just meet somebody on the street and you hand them a business, hey, I'd love to buy you lunch, and you've got this beautiful facility that serves the same food that Subway or Panera or anyone else, or sometimes better. How do you invite somebody in that doesn't know Christ? And you're like, hey, you got to come over to Holy Grounds. Man, I'm not worthy. I mean, I'm not even worthy of stepping in your church, much less having a cup of coffee on your, at your church. And we're all dirty rags, and you have to remember that. So put that into consideration when you do that, and it's fun, like I said, on the inside, but it can really be, we got to break down as many walls with the community as we can. And if we're truly there in the church, we know that it's not, we might be one way, but we're not the only way. So we always have to remember that in our churches, that we're just another vessel, and we're a discipleship machine. That's what we should be doing. So the more people we can get in, hopefully the more people are going to turn out.
So did you rename it?
Of course.
What was it?
Grace Cafe. But it's still,
Yeah.
well, but that's our church. I mean, Grace Church. We weren't going to change our church name, so.
Well,
But we
ours
just
is
did that.
St.
So,
John Cafe.
yeah, so you can do Second Baptist Cafe or, First Baptist Cafe. What's yours?
Well, ours is called the Cafe, but it used to be called the Garden Cafe.
Yeah.
And we dropped out the word garden.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Garden, like, it's like.
Well, I mean,
But you garden.
that was from
But you
30
garden.
years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just, it was like you say, it was
Yeah.
just something, because it was called the Garden of Eden Cafe before.
Eden? Like Eden?
Like Eden.
Yeah, like EAT.
Kind of weird, but it took,
Garden of Eden.
it took plenty of years that it was that long that we dropped it down to, hey, we're just a cafe, let's go with it. The cafe is Houston's first, so it just makes it easier to do.
I need to send that to Tim Hawkins. He'd love that. The Garden of Eden.
But that's what it was.
Yeah, he would use that.
Our community cafe,
Community cafe.
community's our middle name.
Yeah. And if people, I mean, I'm not saying that we totally like take out, don't take Jesus out of your church and everything else and try to bring people in. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying just be very creative and, try to do something.
We try to focus on our church's mission, and our whole theme is connect, grow, serve. So we use focused around the word connection, so we call
Yeah.
ours the Connection Cafe.
Yeah.
And Wednesday dinners are the Wednesday Connection.
Yeah. And that's perfect.
Ties it.
Yeah. And that's always good, yes, sir.
Ours is Hebrews. Hebrew.
That was the other one that Tim was making fun of.
Did he?
So,
Hebrew, yeah.
You might change the name now.
I mean,
That's what Moses had.
hey, if you guys are into blasphemy and I'm just like conviction cafe. That's always a good.
Conviction.
Cafe conviction. Welcome. Come on in. You're not gonna make any profit there. You're gonna be giving a lot of stuff away. You're gonna be giving away everything on that in that one. So it's sorry.
Cafe on the Rock.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, most people. I mean, layper. What does that mean? Oh, cool. Must have a good view. All right. I mean, that's what you would think about that. But when you get real scriptural and you start calling it the Matthew Cafe and Isaiah, and, it could, be a little deterrent. We all get it. We all work in ministry, so it makes a little difference. So those little things, and sometimes we just don't think about that all the way from the beginning. That what do we do? I think the biggest separation that we have to make, or the biggest decision we have to make right from the beginning, and I have an administrator in here, so hopefully I'll see his head, hopefully I won't see too many of these today. I'll be really careful, sir. You can contact my boss really easy, so you have to just draw a line and decide where your church wants to go right off the bat. You guys don't deserve, we're all professionals, we're food service workers, chefs, managers, administrators, whatever it is. If your pastor's saying, hey, we need fellowship, then support me in fellowship. This is what I need. This is what we need to do, and this is what it's going to be. Come straight out. You need to get them, figure out what your budget's going to be. We can start building, and that's where the how to start building a cafe starts. But before you start building a cafe, did the pastor come to you and say, hey, we need to build a new cafe because we want to bring people in from the outside? Because if the pastor comes up to you, or the XP, or the administrator tells you to do that, then that means somebody else has already given the authorization, probably already wrote the check of some type of money or form or something that okay, let's go. If you're going to them, it could be a little bit different. It might take a little bit longer to sell them on that. So then you might have to use the GACHP, other Eaton, the Garden of Eaton, you know, whatever it is. You could start with that one and make them laugh. I mean, this is, you know, like, you know, I don't want to start a Garden of Eaton cafe, but we'd love to start with the coffee or however it is. Support is going to be the most important aspect of that. So you never want to create yourself, you know, you don't want to put yourself in a situation. And I was on a restaurant committee at a church in Mariners, Newport Beach, California. It was a rough place to live, but that's where my wife and I met. So with my franchise background, that's what I used to do, is build restaurants. So going back to that and sitting on that committee, and I didn't know what red was, because if there was red on the spreadsheet, that means that I'm not going to be working very long, and definitely not going to be hired or going to do anything there. So the budget like started off like -160 in the hole, and I'm like, for the first year of operations, and I'm just kind of like, and this is with the restaurant being fully funded. This was just on management and labor, and and I'm just like, this doesn't work to me. And everybody was like, why are you objecting to this? And I was like, because I don't think that $160,000, just tithing, why is this coming out of the church? So I mean, it was just a big red flag to me, because they had nothing against Craig, but I'm glad he's not in here now. But I didn't understand the hiring of outside management firm, to do this. And then after a while, you realize why they did that, because the church didn't want to own it. So the pastor and the executive pastor and the administrator, if that one food service person that built the whole empire, if they leave, then they're like, well, how do you hire somebody new? How do you, because they pretty much leave. I don't know about your guys' churches, but they leave me alone. I mean, they're just kind of like, that's what Kevin does. That's what he did. And I tell a lot of people, you did seminary, I did culinary. Yeah, so there's a separation there. So so you pastor, and I'm gonna take care of the food and I'll feed. So, and you just have to have that, but you have to be just very distinctive, or just be discerning, of course, about how you talk to people about it and everything. But make sure it's separated, and make sure that they draw that line down and they put it in writing that, hey, this is exactly what we want to do. And you have meetings about it. And, I'm sure you guys don't have enough meetings as it is, so let's have one more. And let's discuss this, but let's do our due diligence, and let's focus through this. And it doesn't have to be done tomorrow. And I think that's been one of the biggest problems. Is like, people come out and they see a big line, and we do omelets and buffets and all this stuff, and they come out. One elder or one pastor or somebody has like had to wait 15 minutes for their omelet, so they're like, I could have saved 100 lives while I was waiting for this. I could have saved 100 souls while I was waiting for this omelet. So how do we do it faster? Well, we have to hire more people. We have to build more omelet stations. We have to do, what can we do besides omelets? Well, we got to start thinking about those things. Well, if we do something else other than omelets, we'll, the 400 to 500 people that stay for breakfast every morning, will they stay? What do you think? Do you like made-to-order omelets, or do you like pre-made waffles? And so start thinking about those things. Of course, they're not going to stay. They're going to go to Perkins and get a made-to-order omelet from the menu, and it's get served and everything else. So we always have to think of that. So the number one thing, make sure that your leadership is supporting you in everything that you're doing. So and if they're not, and they're telling you, just be directed well and follow that path. So that way you don't have any hiccups along the way. So that's what we really need to do. So that's the start of building the cafe. Then we get into the budgets, planning, everything else there that's going to happen, from that thing. Is anybody is everybody here? Does anybody have a cafe already? Or are they ready for the next step? I mean, what's kind of the consensus of the room here?
We have one.
Okay. And what are you looking for? As I said earlier, like today, I want everybody to walk off with a nugget.
It is clearly relationship and outreach. Relationship among staff and outreach to the community.
And what are you trying to get today by being in a class that's how to build a cafe?
I hope to be a part of the solution for those here. so that they can have a face, a relationship to take home when they.
Good, I'm glad you're here, because that's what we want to make sure. So any of the board members, I mean, I think all the board members have cafes in their establishments, and anyone else, make sure that you guys, no matter what, just like the ride back to the airport, find somebody that has a cafe.
Yeah, well, we have a cafe, which is basically about 9 months old now. We opened it Monday through Friday as well as Sundays. Monday through Friday, it's open till, well, it's been open till about noon. Unfortunately, during the week, there's no draw. There's nothing to bring people up there. So it's an issue that's probably gonna go away.
How many staff do you have?
We're probably gonna focus on Sunday. It's all volunteer, all of it's volunteer.
The
So-
church, the whole, no, I mean, like, do you have staff?
The staff, it's all
On site?
volunteer staff that I have.
Oh.
Where-
No,
where-
In the church, how many?
Oh, in the
Church,
church.
yeah.
We have about 750 in our membership.
No, I mean like staff wise though, so there's not enough to feed everybody every day.
Oh,
People
no,
are-
no,
for the
no,
cafe.
there's not enough to do any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, what type of
So-
setting is the church in? In other words, like, are you in the middle of a neighborhood?
No,
Or in the middle of
we're
a-
at the extreme end of our community. There's no draw, we don't have any daycare issues, we don't school.
So you guys just
Nothing
hanging
to
out
draw,
together,
nothing to
feeding
draw
yourselves?
people. And so I've burned out volunteers
Yeah.
during the week because they sit there, they do nothing.
Right.
It's really fun. So the pastor and I have talked about, we likely will close it during the week and just do a Sunday. And it's
Okay.
strictly coffee and pastry. Right?
Okay, and I got a good answer for you there. If you have the volunteers and you have the workers and you're just looking for something for them to do, food truck. It's
Do what?
food truck
Food truck.
or a trailer. Take the trailer around your city, spread the word. So I mean,
So
just
we were
those
looking
kind of
for a
things.
draw to bring people to the, but
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I wanted to know is if anyone runs like strictly a Sunday cafe with coffee and donuts and whatever, are they charging for that? Are they doing it as a donation? Are they doing it for free? We had a situation where we used to, before we moved into our new building 9 months ago, we used to do under the portico, meet the pastor kind of thing after the service, free coffee, juice, donuts. Now they have to pay for it. So there's, a little bit of the agita.
Well, the kiss of death for the Baptist church,
Yeah.
when they took away free coffee, we still can't get out of the free coffee business. So I have a full cafe, and we're running about 5,500 on a weekend with 2 services, and cafe does really well. We do about 400 to 500 covers on a Sunday. We keep the price down low. I charge $6 for a buffet, not a buffet, but it's a buffet, but it's not an all-you-can-eat buffet. So you get a omelet, potatoes, or waffle, and sausage and bacon for $6.
Yeah, our population's all going out to the Perkins and the,
Yeah.
what do you call it, after church?
Yeah.
And we've got, in our gathering hall, we've got, I don't know how many tables, but we've got tables and stuff. But
Right.
right now, the pastor did not want to go into serving breakfast sandwiches or any of that.
Yeah.
So it's strictly coffee and pastries. There's no reason for people to stay after service.
We're
So
hungry.
my action is strictly between the services.
Yeah. Well, I just got fed spiritually. Now it's time to fill the belly. Most people get, they're rushing to get to church, and now so you have to create that environment, and that's where it goes back to. You have to make that decision. You have to fight for that. If you want to grow your fellowship, so get on board with the pastors that are the most passionate about keeping people in the church. So if that's the senior pastor, if it's the XP, whoever it is in your church, if it's children's, if it's children's, hopefully you have a playground. I have a 400,000 square foot church,
Yeah, we have no trouble.
and we have 0 playground. We don't have a playground, and everybody's like, well, why would we build a $500,000 playground to play for a month and a half when it's warm enough to be outside where we live? So, we have a rough season up there. It's called, we have 2 seasons in Minnesota: winter and road construction. So that's about it. So we have those 2. So,
The annual
yeah.
business.
So if you don't have, if you don't have draws, and that's been the biggest issue with all these churches, how much do you build inside of the church?
Right.
And it's a vicious cycle. I've been in the church business for a while now, and it's like, oh, what can we do to get people in here? And then everybody starts feeling guilty. Oh, wow, we're doing way too much together. And like, oh, now we need to go out again. And then I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but the grow, care, connect, serve, all right, now we gotta get out. So now food truck, we're doing all these things outside. So now, still same numbers,